thanks to those who will tune into this or are tuning in now. I just want to let you all know, as my Facebook family and friends, that I am digging deeper into this podcast journey with my podcast, The Miles Pod, which, if you haven't figured it out by now, it is a podcast about harmonizing manhood and passion, covering topics like the latest news, sports, tech, business, and Hollywood is coming soon. But I wanted to actually talk to you guys about the future of the pod and how it's going to look. And I want to get your feedback on what you think. Is our roadmap looking good? Are we missing something? So I put a link. If you look at my Facebook page, I put a link to Prezi, which is a really cool website, which allows you to create these very dynamic presentations. So if you guys can go to that now, you can follow along. If not, you can just listen in to this live. And I'm going to go through my presentation. So here it is. Here's what we have coming to the Miles Pod for this quarter. And this is how our annual roadmap looks. So as you can see, I'm taking this very serious. I'm running this like a tech startup, because that's where I believe is the next step for this. As I've alluded to in some of my posts, I am working on certain applications, fun applications for you all to get into. So there is a bit of tech involved in engineering, and this is why I'm having this approach to begin with. So let's get into the Prezi. And it should say the Miles Pod Kickoff. All right. So this is basically what I would say is a comparable sales kickoff event. This is where I'm going to show you everything that we're going to do as a company. And this incorporates applications, guest appearances, social expansion, crowdfunding, merch shop. I'm going to go through all the different channels here, or tranches to the Miles Pod. So let's get started here. I'm going to start right away. We're going to go straight to products. All right. And this is what's coming to you from the Miles Pod. So we have a suite of applications. The next thing that we're going to do moving forward is actually have guest appearances. So I know you've been seeing a lot of me, and I know that I'm an okay dude, and you probably enjoy some of my takes, but you might enjoy hearing information from other guests. And that's my commitment to you, is to make sure that we're diversifying the show and that you are seeing a diversified amount of opinions and takes and people from different backgrounds. Some guest appearances that we're flirting with are people like Dee Brown or somebody like Sharon Collins. The next thing that we're going to cover, hold on one second. There we go, is travel. I do want to incorporate doing shows that are at least in Illinois or Chicago landmarks, and actually going around the country, going to places like LA, Miami, for example. We're going to expand socials too. So socials expansion. If you want to follow along with this presentation, you can do that by clicking on the link that I post on my Facebook page. It should say something like prezi.com. That's where this is coming from. So I want to expand the socials and incorporate more videos, more films, short films. So this is your opportunity to get involved with the Miles Pod in different ways that you never thought of. So yes, we're going to produce web series. We're going to produce shorts. We are going to do fun videos like something you would see Mr. Beast do. For example, we're going to go out and stop at a cafe in Orange County, California. And every time we hear a girl in the cafe say like, we're going to give them $10. We're also creating a social for kids. So it's going to be the Miles Pod Kids. And then there will actually be a Mr. Miles page, which will have more of like the short films and the spoof kind of prank videos. So we're expanding. We want to make sure that we have a dedicated TikTok page and Instagram just for the Miles Pod, and it's not just all under my name. Another thing that we're going to do is crowdfunding, because I want to see if you guys are actually want this pod to happen and want to see certain projects happen. So crowdfunding will actually serve as a way to legitimize our direction and say, okay, we have the affirmation that we need to move forward with this project because our following and our fan base want to see these videos get made. And then lastly is the merch shop. So the merch shop is just a way for you to connect and be part of the team and feel like you are part of this journey that we're going on. It's not just going to be for staff and team members. It's going to be for actual listeners of the pod and viewers and followers of the pod as well. So we want to immerse you in the pod experience. We want this to be more immersive, like you're going to a virtual theme park. That's really what I'm going for with this. So let's get into the first set of products, which are applications. And again, you can follow along by hitting that link. So like I announced, we're going to have an app called Spend Your Rookie Salary. This app will allow you to purchase different things visually so you can see how fast a rookie salary depletes. So you guys always complain about how these are big millionaire babies and how could they go broke and all this other stuff, but it's actually very easy to spend your entire rookie salary before you know it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to produce something called Payday Live. So Payday Live will show you the speed at which money goes into the bank accounts for certain players, all the way to max contract players like LeBron and Giannis Antetokounmpo down to 10-day contract players. So you can see just how much money these folks are making. And then lastly is going to be the game app. So this is going to be a map of the world. You'll see basketballs bouncing in each country, which indicates the number of pickup games happening per second in each of those top 10 basketball countries. Now let's go to guest appearances. So like I told you, I want to have CIFs, which are Chicago important figures to start off with. So I want to get somebody like, as I mentioned, D Brown, one of the players that I admired growing up. A lot of people admired, played it for the Fighting Illini and did play in the NBA. But D Brown was, I mean, on the same level of like LeBron for guards. Like he did ABCD camp all 4 years. Like he had all the prestige and the reputation. And then he played alongside Shannon Brown, which of course had a little bit more of an illustrious career in the NBA. But he is definitely a Chicago legend, and I do want him on the show. Next is Terry Boyle. If you don't know who Terry Boyle is, he's the CEO of Trunk Club. And Trunk Club is actually based in Chicago. And they're a company that allows you to put together certain wardrobes and you order it online and have it delivered right to your door. And so I think it's important that people understand that big time tech companies other than Groupon are actually stationed right here in Chicago. Next is motivational speaker Steve Pemberton, who's also based out of Chicago. He's got a great book out called The Lighthouse Effect. I've heard him speak at New Life Church, and he's gone to a bunch of different churches to share his story about where he came from and him being a foster kid and where his relationship with the Lord started and how it catapulted him to the top of being successful and the top of, I think he worked for Walgreens. He was an executive for Walgreens, but literally came from nothing, came from a very abusive foster home. And so I'd like to get him on the show too. And like I told you, we're going to be launching socials, and one of those are expanding socials. So one of those is going to be the Miles Pod Kids. And I want to get kids on the show. I want to see their reactions to various sports topics and feature some very talented young people on the pod. So you're saying, where's all this going to happen? Is it going to happen in this living room? Or no, it's not. I'm actually securing a new podcast studio, which would be very close to the airport, making it very convenient for people to fly in from out of the country, go straight from the airport to the studio, and then back to the airport. And that's going to allow us to get some really top tier talent based upon our proximity to the airport, because they can come in. It's about a 10-15 minute drive to the studio, and then they can jump back to the airport and hop on their private jet or commercial airline. So that is really going to help us in terms of increasing our volume, is to have that dedicated studio space. and it's going to allow guests to come on the show much easier. So that's what we're doing for guest appearances. We want our CIFs and we want our kiddos to come on and show us what they got. I believe in honoring and celebrating what our young people are doing to motivate them and give them positive affirmation to keep going. Now, on to travel. Now, here's what's going to require a lot of the startup capital that I have allocated, but this is my commitment to you to give you some fresh and amazing and high production value content. So it's not enough just for me to have a studio here in Chicago. I want to actually make this a travel component. All right. So we want to do some domestic travel, and we want to go to certain cities that have a crossbreed of sports, tech, and business. They're like a trifecta, right? They can play both ends of the court. They're a triple threat. So some of the cities that come to mind that are big time in sports, tech, and business are obviously LA, San Francisco, Boston, Miami, New York. These are just a few cities that I wanted to name, give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Obviously, LA, you have the Lakers, you have Silicon Beach, which is Venice Beach for tech, and of course, businesses. Like LA is premier for a lot of business. And then Boston, as you know, being so close to Harvard and MIT, and then the Celtics and the Red Sox, all of that just, and business wise too, Boston is a great place to be based out of. And we also want to expand internationally. So here's where it gets cool. So if you've heard of FIBA and the World Cup, our players from the US often go internationally to these games. And we also want to carry on the pod tradition and start getting a global recognition and being a global brand. So internationally, we want to go to places like Toronto, Croatia, Japan. These are places where basketball is celebrated, where there's a tech scene, a rising tech scene, where there's digital nomads. There's other Americans that are traveling there. Because I want to give you guys a global perspective too on the blending of manhood and passion. And so that's what we're doing for travel. Don't worry, we're almost through with this. I promise you it's not going to take up much more of your time, but I just want to show you the roadmap for where we're going. As I mentioned, we are expanding the socials. So the Spotify is up. So if you're driving, you do Uber, or you're listening to the radio all the time, or some of your other favorite podcast productions, go to Spotify. You can now find the Miles Pod on Spotify, and we are going to upload our long form episodes on there. YouTube will also be a platform for our long form episodes, but it's going to have an expanded book of channels. So the Miles Pod Kids, we're also doing multilingual versions of the pod. So the Miles Pod Espanol, Francés, even Tagalog. All right. Because we're honing in on where basketball is popular. There'll also be the Miles Pod in Portuguese, and I believe Hindi as well. Now we're also getting dedicated Instagram and TikTok pages because we really want to expand the presence and engagement of the pod so that we keep producing material that is hitting our mission, which is to blend passion and manhood. All right. Now, second to last thing, the crowdfunding aspect. You are now going to see the option to buy me a coffee. And so this is just a clever and fun way to support the pod. Basically, it allows you to buy a $3, what would be the equivalent of a $3 coffee, but that cash actually goes straight into funding productions on the show and straight into this production. So you can buy, I think, 1 cup of coffee, 3 cups, or 5 cups. And this is actually on the website, which I'm going to show you in just a second. I'm going to put all the links to this stuff on Facebook so you can go back, look for the links, and you can support the pod even now. There's also Patreon. If you haven't heard of Patreon, it is a subscription-based crowdfunding platform, so it allows you to support the pod with a higher threshold. And we have certain tiers. And so you could be a pod bud, or you could be a pod star, you could be a pod champ based upon your level of subscription. And again, I think the lowest subscription starts at $5 or so. Let me just double check that. I really like Patreon. I actually support a bunch of people on Patreon myself. And so it has been a really, really cool option for creators like myself and other people. Okay. Shout out to Jimmy Litz. He's one of my favorite animators of all time in the Chicago area. You should also support his Patreon page as well. So yes, let's see the membership tiers here. Oh, so actually you can support the pod for just $1 a month, which is awesome. $5, you become part of the Pod Squad. Next is the Pod Creative, where you actually get to, offer up your ideas and be part of the creative process. And then the most talented tier is the Pod Star. So this is giving you everything the other membership tiers give you, but you get free VIP access to our launch event, which is going to be happening in July. And so basically it's just a big party of people that know about the pod, the insiders, the people that are there from the beginning. This is a party for you that we're going to throw. It's a launch party. And then finally, you could be a pod champ. And this is our the highest tier level that we have for $50 a month. So if you really believe in this pod and you believe in what we're doing here, that will be the membership tier for you. So that's how you can support the pod right now. Currently, I'm not looking for equity investors yet. I do want to make sure that we have some steady marketing or advertising revenue come in before I open the door to that. But I am personally funding everything that you've seen to this date has come out of my pocket, either through time or dollars. So far, I have received financial support from one company in Omaha, SIC Omaha, that has seen a lot of our content from the beginning. And so they are planting the seeds to be one of our main advertising clients. So they want us to advertise their business by mentioning them in the pod. So they are early believers in what we're doing. But outside of that, if you're not a huge company, there are no equity offers yet until we start clearing and hitting certain revenue targets. And then finally, the merch shop. So this is your opportunity to support the pod in a different way. So you can go ahead and buy a pod tees. I believe the pod tee 2 and 3 are out, and pod hoodies and pulleys, both 2 and 3 versions are out as well. You can get a nifty pod mug and some pod caps. So the pod shop has your hoodies, tees, pulleys. You can get a cool water bottle. You can get a mini tee, which is for the kiddos. You have your pod caps, but it's very neutral colors. Which I really like, by the way. Really simple, plain design. And yeah, we have the pod hoodie and tees 1 through 3. So there's 3 different versions out of this stuff. And I really like it. I'm going to be blessing some people with some free merch, especially those who are really engaged to this pod early on. So I think the merch shop is going to be a hit. I think it allows people to get really ingrained in this. And then finally, I just want to announce, if we go over to this rocket, if you're following along in the PowerPoint, it's the launch event. So this is going to be called Miles Unleashed, which is a Miles Pod launch event. You can actually RSVP to this now. There is limited space. The location is to be announced, but I believe it's going to be in Humboldt Park, which is a really cool neighborhood to launch an event in. And this is going to be spectacular. We're talking music, food, beverages, and just a good time. And I'm going to be sharing with you all the crazy and new announcements for the pod. So this is our official launch event where we show you exactly what we have that's going to be released. So think about going to like Comic-Con and Marvel comes and they show you a trailer for a movie that's almost done or that's in production. That's exactly what we're going to do at this launch event. We're going to show you what talent we have booked for the show. We're going to show you pictures of the studio. We're going to show you an itinerary of where, what cities or countries that we're visiting doing the pod, and some of the tools that we created, the applications that we want you guys to enjoy that are fun. So that's pretty much it. That is our kickoff here. I wanted to make sure that everybody got a chance to take a look at this. Like I said, I'm going to put all the links, but again, you can support the pod through this platform called Buy Me a Coffee. It's all on my website. I'm also going to post the links. You can support through Patreon or through buying merch. So those are the 3 ways that you can support the pod right now. And like I said, once we hit certain revenue targets, then I will actually open up the opportunity to become an equity partner. So thank you so much for watching this. Hopefully this was pretty comprehensive and this was just mind-blowing, all the stuff that I have planned for you. Again, final note here is that everything that you've seen, everything from the thumbnails to the videos, to the different all of that time and effort and money has come through me self-funding this. So that's how much I believe in this. Is I'm putting my blood, sweat, and tears to create this production for you and to create an opportunity to celebrate men that are pursuing their passions, but they're also handling their responsibilities. And we're doing this together. So this is for you. Ladies, feel free to join the journey as well. But I have to say that our target market are the fellas. We need something for us too. So God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching the Miles Pod kickoff. And I will see you soon. Bye.